Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by, as always. So I do have the highly anticipated matchup between Wesley So and Hans Moki Niemann. And this is game number 5. They're still in the Blitz portion. They only started playing about an hour and a half ago. So, you know, they're kind of just in the action. So they just started to get rolling. All of my people in the Philippines, I would say, Maraming salamat, mabuhay to you. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. But yeah, man, if you guys are ready to go, let's take a look, see what we got for this game, son. All right, man, so we got E4, we got E5. Knight comes to F3, we got knight to C6. This is going to be by far the heaviest way that you see this opening played. And we do see bishop to C4 starting the Italian game. We got knight going to F6. We do see the move D3. Now, this is the Italian game, 2 knights, modern bishops opening. Don't ask me why they call it that. You know, but we just got our bishop outside of this chain like that, and we are closing things up, and we are working to get our bishop out at some point. We got bishop going to E7. We got castles by white, castles by black. We got the move A4. Now, because both players have castled on this king side right here, it is most logical for you to try to get space on the queen side. So basically, that's what A4 is doing. So if black just kind of just sits there and does nothing, we got A5 coming, we got C3, B4, and we're just going to steamroll you on the queen side. So we do see A5 just kind of shutting all that stuff down. We got rook going to E1. We see the move D6. We got H3, bishop to G4 can sometimes be a little bit of an irritation in this opening. So we are just preventing that altogether. We got the move H6. Black does the same. Knight B to D2. Rook goes to E8. And this is the novelty of the game. Crazy. Because this is always kind of the maneuvering way that you go about playing this position. You know, this knight is going to come down to F1 and then plop itself on G3. One of the major things, and we will talk about it a little bit later, but one of the major things you have to make sure that you're doing from the black and the white side is making sure you maintain these 2 pawns. So that is why knight goes to F1, comes up to G3. We are just absolutely making sure that G3 or that E4 is protected. That's why we have rook playing right here, stuff like that. We got knight down to F1, bishop goes back to F8, and then we do see that maneuver, knight goes to G3. We got bishop going to E6, and this is kind of somewhat of a critical position that we've gotten ourselves into. Generally, you'll see like a bishop to B5, just like avoiding this trade. But you definitely have an idea at play if you do go into allowing this bishop to be taken. And so we do see Wesley So doing that. We got the move C3, bishop takes C4, pawn takes C4, and then we do see the move knight back to B8. And we are kind of making a decision if we're black. Are we going to go knight B to D7 and kind of start maybe this C6, D5 situation, or go down to A6? Kind of how do you want to maneuver your knight? So we have actually reached a point in the game. There is a really nice move that white can play. It's not like it's really nice, but it's a very positional move. So if you want to try to pause the video and try to guess what move Wesley So plays here, go ahead and do so. Okay, cool. So, I mean, for those of you that are playing on the white side, of course, obviously, you've noticed that the bishop and the queens, they still kind of have to get out. They got to kind of move at some point, get position good. The bishop generally is going to come to E3. You don't have any counterpart on black side like over here, so that's a pretty safe square. But one of the things you do need to be paying attention to is your pawn structure. And right now, you do have double pawns. So you have to kind of formulate some kind of plan to get rid of that double pawn. So we do see Wesley So immediately just going C5. So if you did get C5, you would be absolutely correct. This is a nice positional move. It does solve your problem of this double C pawn. And so you basically put black in a position to where, I mean, they have to kind of choose between 2 different plans. Are you going to go knight to A6, which is what we actually see in the game, or are you going to accept the trade here? The problem with this move is you're going to be looking at queen takes D8, and then the rook is going to take D8. You've just deflected the rook away from the protection of the E5 pawn, and you do see knight taking E5. And like I said, because you do have this knight and this rook both on this square, if you were to see rook go back to E8, I mean, you can just start going like this, or, you know, kind of however you want to kind of retreat, and your E4 pawn is very secure. But like I said, we did see after C5, we did see knight going to A6, preparing to take back on C6 if you just let me grab the pawn. We do see pawn taking D6, queen taking D6. We got bishop going to E3, like I said before. Queen takes d1, rook takes d1, and then we do see bishop to c5. And it kind of looks like, I mean, both players have done everything absolutely that they need to do. Black is just a little bit further ahead in the case of what you saw in the thumbnail. If we did see a bishop taking here, the knight takes here, which is actually what we do see coming up. You are putting a double attack on, and you are basically forcing white to defend. So a lot of times when you're playing chess, you know, you can kind of feel who has the initiative. Because usually the person with the initiative is going to be the one that is making threats, and the other person is going to be, you know, just reacting to those threats and stuff like that, and it could be either side. So we see a little bit of kind of back and forth here. We got the bishop going down to d2, rook going over to d8, king goes to f1, king goes to h7, king goes to e2. We do see the move g6. F5 is looking kind of juicy if you are white, so you want to try to kind of, you know, make sure that white cannot improve their position. We got knight down to h2, bishop goes back to f8. So we just see a little bit of maneuvering here. Bishop e3, bishop back. Hans Niemann is basically saying, bro, I mean, I'm good with a draw. I'm a little bit ahead right now. But Wesley So is like, bro, after we go this and come back to that position, he's like, man, I'm going to change it up. I do not want to lose. So I definitely respect that fighting spirit. We do see knight going to f3, breaking the possible draw by threefold. We got bishop taking, king taking, rook taking, and then we do see knight down to c5. And like I said, we do have this knight attacking both of these pieces. And this is in King's Indian positions. You definitely do kind of see this type of a maneuver. So this is pretty familiar probably to like quite a few people. But you do see that black is making threats and they have the initiative, and white is having to defend their position. So we do see rook going over to a1. You don't generally want to move your rook from a completely open file to a completely blocked file, but you kind of have to do what you got to do to protect any more pawns from dropping. We do see knight f going to d7. We do see the move b4. Knight goes back to e6. We got rook returning back to this beautifully open file. We see knight e to f8. We got pawn taking a5, rook going to a8, and then we do see rook going to b1. And you see that now things have shifted into white's favor. They're starting to place attacks, and so, you know, they're kind of going tit for tat for, with black, and they are able to place serious threats on the opponent. So we do see rook going to a7, and knight going down to d2. Rook taking, we do have pawn taking. We got knight going down to e6. And something that's going to be relevant in a little bit, actually coming up fairly soon, this maneuvered knight going down to e6, you definitely have some possibilities with this move. And I'll kind of leave it to you guys if you can guess what knight to e6 is kind of setting black up to be able to do. We'll talk about it in a second. We got the rook going to b4. We do see knight going to b6, double attacking a4. We got knight up to c4. Knight takes c4, rook takes c4, and then we do see the move c5. And white is definitely now about to be able to prevent black from doing the idea that was in a position for about 4 moves. We do see knight going down to e2. Now, going back a little bit, when you first move knight to e6, we definitely should, in our minds, have a clear plan of trying to go knight to f4. Not only does knight to f4 improve the knight's position a little bit, but it does hit at these vulnerable possible pawns, and you are kind of restricting the movement of the king. When we get into end games, you definitely want to try to create positions where your king has, you know, complete movability, but knight to f4 would definitely tie black down, or white down in some kind of way. So that is something that you should be considering. But we did get in this position here. Now, basically, you know, Wesley So was like, bro, I mean, you know, you had knight f4 for a few moves, but you don't have it anymore. So we are shutting that down. We got knight going back to d8. Knight goes down to c1. Knight to b7. We see knight to b3. And we have now just evicted this rook from in front of our pawn. So after we do see rook going to a7, knight takes c5, we got knight going to d6, rook to b4. So, I mean, in this position that we see right here, I mean, Wesley So just up 2 clear pawns pretty much, man. You are going to be able to force 1 pawn away from white, but, I mean, you have 2 completely outside passed pawns, and everything over here on the king side is fairly equal. We do see rook to c7. Like I said, black is going to be able to force a pawn. We got knight going down to d3, rook taking. We got king going down to d2. Now, before you think that knight taking e4 is check, we do have the rook covering that, so that is convenient. We got rook back to c7. We do see knight taking e5. We see rook over to e7, and we do have f4, and this is protecting pretty much everything. We're laterally defending all of this right here with this rook. This pawn is not touchable, and now our knight is completely in the center of the board. So everything is everything if you are white. We got f6. We do see knight going to c6, rook going over to c7. And the reason that you're not seeing black go into like a rook takes and a rook takes and a knight takes and all of this other stuff is because you really don't want to trade down if you are black, because this outside pass pawn is very king. So you see black kind of trying to do everything they can to not go into trades. So that is why we see rook to c7, knight goes down to a5, rook goes to a7. Knight down to b3, we do see g5. We just cover that with g3. We got pawn taking. We got king down to g6. We see the move a5, and we are pretty much putting black in prison. You know, you basically, for the rest of the game, however long it lasts, you're having to try to use your pieces to prevent this pawn from really going any further. And that is absolutely not where you want to be. We do see king to h5, and we're going to go ahead and tickle the knight a little bit. Rook goes over to d4, and we actually see a game-losing blunder, which is the move knight to b5, and I think you guys probably can see it. Bam and bam, we do see rook to d5 with check landing on the board, and this is forking this king and this knight. Bye-bye knight. After that happens, you're going to be able to grab a pawn on h3 by black, but there isn't really much else that you're going to be able to do. You are down an entire piece and a pawn. So it is in this position that we see Hans Niemann resign the game, and that is unfortunate. But like I said before, you know, he does kind of have a slight lead on Wesley So. So Wesley has a little bit of coming back to do. So we're going to see if he could do it, man. Be malaka see Wesley So in this one, man. But all of my people in the Philippines, maraming salamat sa king makaibigan po sa nanonood ng king ma video. Mabuhay, kamusta na? Mabuting pagbati, kapayapaan sa inyo. Almasal tayo if you're waking up and eating breakfast or having a coconut shake. I appreciate you guys very much. Ingat lagi to you guys. And anybody else from around the world, I appreciate you guys very much. Leave comments and everything, and suggestions. And my guy that asked for a Macau Tao video, I do see me doing that over this next week and a half. So I got you, bro. But anyways, I'll see you guys next time.